necessary ineffective labor. Renowned private equity and investment banks in the United States, such as Carlyle Capital and Bear Stearns, frequently report emergencies, which is the most direct impact on China. What is more impressive than the two remarkable overseas investments made by SIC in 2007, the $3 billion investment in Blackstone Inc., and the $5 billion bottom hunting in December, the former has lost more than half and the latter has lost hundreds of millions of dollars. In addition, the decline of the first batch of mutual funds, QDII, engaged in overseas investment since last year has exceeded 20%. There is serious resistance among the public towards the westward journey of the Chinese yuan overseas. A survey shows that more than half of Chinese retail and institutional investors believe that mainland investors do not have the necessary knowledge or skills to invest wisely in the global market. In fact, not only in the financial field, doubts about China's lack of overseas investment experience have always accompanied Chinese enterprises. The entire process of going global has become the main reason for losses for 65% of China's overseas investments. However, if the lack of experience in capital operation can still explain the various failures of China's overseas investment, then why are the giant financial institutions such as Huoqi, Merrill Lynch, Bear Stearns, etc., in the United States, which is familiar with market economy rules and has dominated the financial capital economy for decades, still so fragile and vulnerable? In fact, the failure of investment did not suddenly become so many that it triggered panic, but rather for a long time, for a period of time. Investments such as venture capital funds and industry funds have been covered by the halo of one or two successes, despite continuous failures. John Zilch, a renowned venture capitalist at IDG, once pointed out that generally, 2 out of 10 successful investments are made by foreign venture capitalists. In China, about 3 out of 10 cases are successful, and there are still 2 or 3 cases that are being consumed. The remaining 20% or so of cases may be unsuccessful. More importantly, the profits brought by a single success far outweigh the losses caused by several failures. For example, its 1996 investment in Saofan, which invested a total 90 万of in 10 years, now has a revenue 45 of million recorded. Obviously, the fact that wealth is still growing significantly has led people to overlook the essence of numerous failures, which is precisely the second nature of the value source of financial civilization, the expression of necessary ineffective labor, defining ineffective labor as labor that does not directly create value. Firstly, the evolution of civilization is not achieved overnight, and the necessary ineffective labor is not unique to financial civilization. This phenomenon of failure outweighs success on the surface, but success actually covers failure has been a common trend since the post-industrial economy era. For example, in the field of scientific research, a clear example is that due to the importance of enterprise innovation and only a 50% chance of successful innovation, imposing high patent fees on intellectual property provides unquestionable rationality. In March of last year, the United States imposed a standard patent fee of 20 over per digital TV export to the United States, while compared to the Chinese color TV exports to the United States, the profit per unit is 2 至3 only. Due to a lack of independent innovation, companies such as Nokia, Ericsson, and Siemens will also charge patent fees of up to 25% for the Chinese mobile phone industry in the 3G field. In addition, in the field of industrial design, Apple, which excels in this field, is also approaching the possibility of success through the accumulation of long-term impractical cases. It can be seen that the reason why high-tech products have high added value is not only that their use value can greatly meet the needs of consumers at all levels, but also includes the necessary inefficiencies of research and development personnel, the condensation of labor. Of course, necessary ineffective labor has become an important source of value for financial civilization, indicating that it is more typical, it is also more common, and this is closely related to the primacy of the value source of financial civilization. Firstly, the reason for necessity is not only the need for economic development and value appreciation, but also the need to use concepts as general equivalents. Storytelling. Although under the financial civilization, capital flows in a relatively independent market, and then is virtualized and foam-shaped, the excess capital still needs to find a breakthrough to combine with the real economy, that is, to create new economic growth points and new concepts through the recombination of factors. Otherwise, it is a digital game built up with theories and models, like the subprime foam, which is dangerous and all damage. Secondly, the reason why it is ineffective is that finding a real breakthrough is not easy. As Foka previously pointed out, labor and industrial culture under the financial civilization, the labor of Ming is different. The latter must create value, while the former is not, because using a concept or story to exchange others' trust is much more difficult and complex than directly exchanging currency, and the probability of mistakes is greatly increased. In fact, although IDG's investments in Saofan and Bait, you have achieved great success, other websites it has invested in, such as 3721、8848 and Zhongsao, are not popular. Obviously, in the economic activities of financial capital, from the large-scale evaporation and liquidation of positions in the 10-year financial crisis to the stock market crash, rapid growth and death of start-up high-tech enterprises, and so on, failure is no longer a small probability or abnormal phenomenon. For China, on the one hand, especially for many traditional Chinese enterprises, breaking through the limitations of the original profit space and growth characteristics of the industry through external capital, that is, achieving industrial upgrading through the integration of capital, has become a necessary option for its reform. However, facing the increasing probability of failure, providing a certain degree of flexibility in structure or mechanism system is crucial. For example, while carrying out dazzling capital operations, Mengniu transformed its organizational structure from vertical management to matrix management, implementing a modern enterprise operation management system where the chairman and president are separated. The reason why Pei, private equity company, dominates the financial civilization is due to its networking, elite team-led organizational structure, good exit mechanism, and risk management. In addition, this flexibility in organizational structure is also reflected in the management culture. Influenced by the subprime mortgage crisis, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley and other major securities firms on Wall Street reported losses, while Goldman Sachs made profits. On the surface, it was an accident that it shorted subprime loans and made accurate judgments. But fundamentally, Goldman Sachs retained the cultural characteristics of partnership, such as a strong sense of shared responsibility, which is quite different from the hierarchical system of Merrill Lynch and Citigroup. The latter developed out of control in structural financial sectors such as subprime lending derivatives because different business branches were independent or even antagonistic to each other. The flexibility of the mechanism mainly refers to embedding space for failure as much as possible in the incentive and financial systems. On the other hand, overall, the Chinese economy has developed at a relatively smooth and rapid pace for over 20 years, but has entered a new economy facing the new requirements of reform and innovation. Failure and setbacks naturally increase in the face of economic civilization. Therefore, whether to face this new economic value in a mature and tolerant way can also be seen as a kind of experience in the process of growth. The probability and reality of failure will not change with or without tolerance, but intolerance, or in the logic of becoming king and defeating enemy, is more likely to breed pseudo-success due to fear of failure, such as academic misconduct in scientific research and political performance thirst in public governance, which makes the fat powder fee used to whitewash failure high and contradicts the value pursuit of maximizing public interest. In this way, it is encouraging innovation to tolerate failure, dispel fear and pressure of quick success. Hisense, which has achieved success in Xinxin, will allow about 30% of its scientific research projects to fail every year. Moreover, a tolerant attitude towards failure and even a system can openly summarize the lessons learned from failure, making the cost of failure explicit as a ladder to success, without being artificially blocked. From this perspective, the losses of subprime loans and the evaporation of Bear Stearns undoubtedly highlight the shortcomings of financial regulation and theoretical models. as well as the problem of amplifying the ugly side of human nature under financial leverage. As a necessary ineffective labor effort, it contributes to financial civilization, laying the foundation for health and improvement. Similarly, China's overseas investment will also become more transparent and professional,